The first section in Chapter 6 is titled Ratios. So the vocabulary term for the day is ratio, and it's a comparison of two quantities by division. So if we look at the first example, we can see that a ratio sometimes is written using the word 2, 3 to 9. We can also use a colon. That also reads the ratio of 3 to 9. Or finally, we typically will write it as a fraction. So what this says is the ratio of 3 to 9. Similarly with the letters, we have A to B, written with the word 2, written with a written with a colon, and written as a fraction. So first I just want you to express the ratio of 12 baskets made to 18 attempts as a fraction in simplest form, and then explain its meaning. So what we want to do, if it's 12 to 18, we write the 12 on top, the 18 on bottom. We do need to write it in simplest form. Both of these numbers are divisible by 6, so we get 2 to 3, and explain what it means. Well, if we're talking about baskets and attempts, what this means is for every 3 attempts someone takes, they'll make 2 of the baskets. And as a basketball coach, that's a pretty good ratio. Here's another example. See if you can pause the video here and try this one on your own. So we have 10 out of every 30 Americans own a portable MP3 player. Express this ratio as a fraction in simplest form, and then explain its meaning. So if we're talking about 10 out of every 30, and we want to reduce that fraction, both of these numbers are divisible by 10. We get 1 to 3. And if we explain this meaning, what this says, if it was 10 out of every 30 own a portable MP3 player, then it's the same for 1 out of every 3. So 1 out of every 3 Americans owns a portable MP3 player. And the last portion of this lesson is simplifying ratios that involve measurement. So when you're writing a ratio that's involving measurements, both quantities should have the same unit of measure so that we can compare them. So what I first want to do is write down some common units of measure that you may need for this lesson. And some of these you might know, other ones you maybe don't quite remember. So the first one is, how many ounces are in a pound? Hopefully you know that one, and it's 16. There are 2,000 pounds in a ton, 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, 5,280 feet in a mile. And then when we go over to volume of liquids, there are 8 fluid ounces in a cup, there are 2 cups in a pint, there are 2 pints in a quart, and there are 4 quarts in a gallon. So make sure that you write these down, because these will be helpful on the next few examples and also on your worksheet. So if we look at a couple of examples, we want to express each ratio as a fraction in simplest form. And when we do this, what we want to make sure that we're doing is, you want to change the larger unit to match the smaller unit. That way we don't have to deal with fractions. So what's smaller, ounces or pounds? And hopefully you're saying ounces are smaller. So we want to change the pounds to the correct number of ounces. So if we go back, we saw there were 16 ounces in a pound. So if we have 3 pounds, then we take 3 times 16, and we get 48 ounces. And now what we need to do is simplify this fraction. 48 is divisible by 8, so we get 1 ounce over 6 ounces. And that, I shouldn't have pluralized that one on top. So 1 ounce for every 6 ounces if the ratio is 8 ounces to 3 pounds. And then what else you can do when we want to drop the units? We can say 1 to 6. You can write 1 to 6. Or you can write it as a fraction, 1 to 6. Those would all be acceptable answers. So let's try the next one. We have 15 inches and 1 foot. And we want to express this ratio, again, as a fraction in simplest form. So we want to change feet to inches. We don't want to change inches to feet because we'll have a fraction or a decimal. So 15 inches. Then the question is, we have 1 foot, so how many inches is that? That's 12 inches. And now we need to simplify this. They both are divisible by 3. So we get 5 inches to 4 inches. And we can write that as 5 over 4, 5 to 4 using the colon, or using the actual word, 5 to 4. It does say expressed as a fraction in simplest form, so those would be the two answers you're looking for numbers 3 and number 4. In class, we'll work on worksheet 6-1.